The One Piece world is so vast. There's even evidence to imply that their world is massively way more bigger than our actual Earth in real life, apparently. Their world's a little bit different, though, because they have a world government. That's one similarity to real life, how there's higher ups and stuff. But other than the government, you got pirates. Beings that kind of do what they want. And the man that became the king of the pirates, conquering the ocean, one of the strongest men in the world, Roger himself. I mean, out of all the pirates, he had like the highest bounty of them all, right? But what if I told you he had a son who ended up becoming a member of the Whitebeard Pirates? You may know him as Fire Fist Ace. Him and Luffy grew up together, and he's really strong. Heck, he was, for the majority of the series, was stronger than the main character, Luffy. It's crazy because this is back before he had superpowers. Same with Sabo. Luffy's the one that had superpowers, but yet he still couldn't get a win on Ace, despite Luffy having rubbery abilities and Ace having none. This just kind of lets you know that Ace just has physical attributes without necessarily relying on these superpowers. Oh, by the way, when it comes to superpowers in this world, imagine it open a chest and the chest itself has fruit in it and you thinking it's nothing important, but it's actually something that will change your life if you eat the fruit. But the fruit is ridiculously nasty. And thanks to this, he gained firepower. There's these special mysterious fruits in this world that you can eat and you can gain superpowers from them. Gold Roger's son had a superpower ability. This powerful fruit does make him a lot more destructive because he can actually turn into fire, and it has a whole bunch of creative looking fire-like techniques. Giant fire fists, piercing type flame attacks. I love when characters make constructs out of their elements. That's what Ace uses. Making fire-like constructs in the shape of beasts if need be. And one of the biggest things, it makes them almost dang near impossible to hit. Unless you have salt water or the weakness of his fruit, like ice or something. Seawater is his weakness too. Or if you know this technique known as hockey, which I haven't even mentioned in this video yet, I'll be getting back to his flame abilities a little bit later, but just know he's hard to hit. Trying to cut fire with swords is pointless. Same with trying to shoot him with bullets. Seriously, why would y'all even try to shoot bullets at him without hockey? But don't get it twisted. He doesn't need to rely on his superpowers because he's strong without them. Let's analyze how strong he is in this video, shall we? Naturally, he's older than Luffy. He actually went set sailing out at an earlier age than him to become a pirate. And although we didn't necessarily see all his adventures, it's definitely obvious that he's gotten stronger as time went by. Occasions like this imply that he's getting stronger over time. Jinbei even noticed his power difference and his improvement. One good way to understand how he has improved, there was a time where he kept on trying to take Whitebeard on or whatever. Whitebeard looked at him like a peasant and really wouldn't even use his Quake superpower, but there was this one instance where he finally made Whitebeard use his power, and it even shocked everybody, saying he uses power to let you know that he's getting better, and it forced him to use his power as time goes by, because at first Whitebeard wouldn't even need to use it. It's occasions like this that prove he's a beast even without his superpowers. That's why in occasions like this, when he's in handcuffs, having his power nullified by sea prism cuffs, we still see him be able to handle fodder beings still, because these beings are just not on his level physically. And him being proficient in hand-to-hand combat just makes sense with his lore and is not inconsistent, really. Before even getting superpowers, it's even confirmed by the main character Luffy himself about how Ace, when they lived together back in the day, he didn't have a fruit ability back then, but he can never beat him in a fight, not even once. Ace is really strong. Even his crew members like Nami even said, wait, you couldn't beat him even once when he was just a normal human? The brother of a monster is an even bigger monster. Yeah, he got his butt beat. Luffy even admitted it. I mean, it's pretty obvious that these kids are stronger than what their size is. I mean, they had to take on huge beasts as kids, so one could say this is like their training. It's also implied that Ace has melee combat. Back then, he uses a pipe. Even while older, you see him using melee weapons from time to time, like this axe. Along with Sabo, who's also super strong for their size. All these brothers are just monsters. They can stop giant attacks from big tiger beings, paws from crushing Luffy here. Just to give you an idea of how big these beasts are, Ace can just straight up hit beings this big and do major damage. Look how it looks sleepy. Beings that are way bigger than him, he can just lift up by holding them up. No devil fruit abilities with this pipe, pulled up on this huge creature and hit this creature this hard, despite the creature being way bigger than himself. So the son of Gold Roger liked using pipes back in the day and even caused his own avalanche when Luffy kept chasing him, even at only 10 years old. And no, the pipe is not what makes him strong, because he can literally just straight up kick a tree down or hit it, it appears here, to where the tree collapses. Wooden walls is the plot he can strike through with him and Sabo using a pipe. It shows they're hitting, how hard they can hit, even messing up to some grown men bandits. Like, these kids are monsters beating bears at 10 years old. I mean, he had help, but still, guys, like, imagine trying to fight a bear at 10 years old. I mean, the One Piece world just has crazy fantasy-type creatures. Like, even a big centipede, it don't matter. Get stabbed. Being a human in a One Piece world has to be amazing when there's a group of grown men that jump two kids and they still can't beat these two monstrous kids to where they're running away from the kids. It's funny to think about, even as a kid, he could break through brick walls or even strike hard enough to blow away a house or something. All this fighting and adventure and all these creatures makes sense on by the time he was 17 on why he should be strong by then, right? When it comes to beings being actually bigger than a character, it doesn't really seem to matter when it comes to actual strength. We always see them punching out beings that are way bigger than him. I mean, even while technically being a flame man, we see him punch beings without necessarily spamming his fire. In this occasion, infiltrating the military base and stuff, dressed up as a Navy officer. We've seen him physically laying kicks on beings without necessarily needing his fire. When it comes to physical attributes, we know he had Luffy beat at a young age, but what about when they're older? At this point in the story, Ace still was physically stronger than Luffy, I would say. If we're still talking about pure muscle and not talking about him using his flame ability. This is important because you can kind of get a benchmark on how strong he has to be if he's still stronger than Luffy at this point in the story. Because you know the Straw Hats get stronger with every arc, little by little, right? Through every arc. A fair benchmark to understand Ace's strength is Luffy during this time period was still strong enough to punch through a big chunk of concrete and even technically level a city block, push over multiple buildings from his collateral of his punches. I mean, we didn't see Ace do this, but let's be honest, he probably could do this too with his bare fist without counting his superpowers. Meaning if he had to, he could level multiple city blocks with his punching power or just muscles in general. Leveling multiple buildings should be child's play at this point. I mean, you can even argue that he's even stronger than Luffy, so whatever Luffy can do back in this time period, Ace can do better when it comes to pure muscles and just raw strength. Like, he does lack screen time, but you got occasions like this where you see him lift up stuff that's way bigger than his own body, like a boat with one arm, for example. Huge birds, there's implications. He can physically just punch them out. You eating a flame fruit isn't going to give you like strength to build for days and days when others get tired. They getting tired. He said, nope, just because you're tired doesn't mean I'm going to get tired. I'm going to keep on working for 3 days without no rest. Throughout his adventures, Ace unlocks this latent ability that everybody has within them, but most don't train this inner energy or inner spirit energy to be able to use this power known as Haki. It's the ability to sense spiritual energy and overpower enemies. It's basically gives you abilities like this to where you see characters make their body limbs or stuff black in animation. This is like the invisible armor I'm talking about, Haki. This harnessing your inner energy within your body, making invisible armor around yourself is the reason why characters that are made of fluid bodies, like Ace, for example, can be hit if these characters can use this ornament Haki technique. Lawgier people that dang near feel near invincible can be hit solidly. Like in this occasion, this being made of light can be touched because Rayleigh's explaining it. In the novels and books, they imply that Ace has this type of ability. In the show, they never really showed it really, other than when he showed to have the most advanced form of this ability known as Conqueror's Haki that most people don't have, where you can knock out people without even necessarily punching them. You can manifest your outward will to knock weaker willed folks out. In new lore, Ace is implied to be able to use Conqueror's Haki at will. Yeah, in the Ace novels, we get to see more stuff Ace can do. This ability known as Observation Haki is where you can almost predict the opponent's movements, basically. Ace has this too. It's explained in scans like this. Yeah, it's literally stated Haki. The great thing about Haki is that it can help your senses to help you predict what a character's going to do, but also put like invisible armor around your strikes to make your strikes even harder than they already would be, since Ace already has strong muscles, already has fire abilities, and he has this on top of it. Stacked on top of his super senses, they even stated great observation Haki. Y'all remember the days when Ace was trying to take Whitebeard's head? Yeah, he was using Haki even back in these days. Which makes occasions like this even more confusing. Why couldn't he just beat Smoker by just punching him out with ornament Haki back in these, this is before, I guess, Oda really had the Haki system completely mastered, I guess. Statements like this imply he has ornament Haki because he says you're leaning into the Haki you're more comfortable with, implying that he knows more than one type of Haki, proving he can use multiple different forms of Haki, because the one he wasn't as good at was observation. But in this particular occasion, he showed that he was getting better with it. I mean, it would be weird if he didn't have ornament Haki, if he can fight strong fighters like Jinbei, a super strong fishman. They've battled more than once. Jinbei is even stated on panel to be able to use ornament Haki, making invisible armor around his hands, Jinbei can use even back in these days. Despite all of this, these two were evenly matched opponents for 5 days. Even though Jinbei could use water type attacks. And of course, Ace is fire, and that's technically his weakness. It still isn't an end-all be-all between these two. These two can just straight up match each other's strikes. Despite both of them having Haki, their superpowers like being able to manipulate water, Ace having fire, you get it. I mean, when you fight strong beings like Yamato, Ace has to have Haki. Somebody that's the daughter of an actual emperor of the sea at the time, you're probably thinking, well, that was in the past. Well, it couldn't have been that far in the past. Look how old Ace looks. And even Ace says, somebody this strong isn't a captain? Yamato never transformed into her higher form, but the fact that Ace was able to scuffle with her in this state is pretty impressive. It is implied they did give each other injuries, though. You see the bandages, you know. This implies that she was using Haki at the time, because how else would she hit him if she wasn't using Haki? You see what I mean? If you had your doubts about how strong Ace is, I hope you don't anymore. Ace isn't a pushover in compared to her power. Yamato, a strong warrior who currently can block recent Luffy's attacks, Gear 3rd when he's in Giant Fist mode. I want to get something straight. Just because he has a fire fruit doesn't mean his fire doesn't actually have blunt force power behind it, right? Because you know how something's burning, it doesn't necessarily like split it in half when it's burning. Like it slowly decays it when something's burning, right? There's proof that Ace is fire. It's not just simply burning. I mean, it's burning too, but it's more than just burning. Like it actually has a blunt force behind it. Like sure guys, heat does help, but when it comes to these ships, if you used to set it on fire normally, it would take a while for the ship to just incinerate. While when Ace pulls up to it with his fire fist, it shows blunt power to be able to blast through multiple ships. So with a simple blast or punch, he can take out miniature fleets with ease. He can explode birds with his fire fist attacks, like huge birds. I already brought this up earlier, if him being able to shoot like bullets of flames. He has the kind of blast power where even if you try to throw houses at him, he would just blast right through them. Like, yeah, easily. And when you see the house about to follow him, that's when he blasts through it with his blast power. Ace has definitely clashed with some top tier pirates, one of them being Blackbeard, but you already know how he had this little baby beef with Whitebeard for a little bit. You know, he was trying to take Whitebeard's head and stuff. I'm pretty sure you guys remember that stuff, right? In one of his mini clashes with Whitebeard, he was able to create large explosions in their class that is dang near almost the size of the island when it comes to the width of it. This is an extremely small island though. When it comes to destructive power, it was stated that his flames could burn cities to the ground. I definitely believe this is not an exaggeration, because when he does one of his more powered up abilities like this flame commandment, looks like a darn death beam like from Dragon Ball Z type stuff. The clash between their attacks clashing was like 1/4 the width of the island they was on, the small island they was on. Obviously, Ace isn't an evil being, but when it comes to his fire or blast power, there's heavy implications that he definitely, if he just wanted to go berserk with his blast power, he could create a super large fireball that could definitely cause major damage to a small island, or burn it to the ground instantly, or just destroy it or split it to the ground, depending on how you look at it. Even if you don't believe he can destroy the island to its foundation, but he can definitely destroy the cities or multiple city blocks with ease with a fire blast. Ace is a log gear devil fruit user. Destroying an entire island is not something that's considered out of the ordinary in One Piece. This is something lower tiers can do. Like Enel, other characters like him can do this, for example, like with his electric devil fruit. Like, for instance, he was going to blow away the entire Skypiea with his blast. I mean, he already showed he can level an entire island on screen anyway. Who's to say Ace, with his fire fruit, if he just wanted to be an evil being one day, who's to say Ace couldn't destroy an entire island like Skypiea too if he wanted to with his fire blast? It's already stated his fire can blow away or burn cities to the ground. You think Ace can blow away an entire island with his flame? I mean, just fighter marines are just a joke. They get punched away with fire punches. And at will, he can make firewalls. And one of the strongest men in the entire world, one of the mightiest pirates in the world, known as Shanks, considers Ace to be strong. Obviously, Ace is not as strong as these two. He's not as strong as Shanks or Whitebeard, but it's just respect. There's like this really cold island known as Drum Island. Ace has the kind of blast heat. This snowy place, it's implied that Ace heated this whole island up that had its own weather, basically. Just from him being there, it didn't snow that day, apparently, because of this guy known as Ace. You can kind of tell when Ace is getting serious when he pulls out this flame commandment type technique, because his blasts get really destructive, like even almost the size of the whole island, even though it's not like the biggest island in the world or nothing. Like, this is straight up sick. This is like when he was trying to take on Whitebeard and stuff. Like, we know Whitebeard is stronger, but the fact that he's clashing with him here, and we know for a fact Whitebeard could effortlessly destroy islands, confirms to me that Ace could definitely level an entire city or island. Like, you know, there's different power levels in the Navy. Ace has faced different tiers in the Navy. For example, all Vice Admiral level beings or above the Navy automatically have Haki or have the ability to use it. We know Ace has gotten entanglement with Vice Admiral level beings in the novelization, and they can use Haki. Like, when it comes to the different ranks in the Navy, I would definitely say he's above like all these ranks, even above most Vice Admirals. Obviously not stronger than the anomaly Vice Admirals like Garp, but I definitely wouldn't say he's necessarily quite at the Admiral level either at the point, because we do see him clash with an Admiral level beings like Okaji's Ice, for example. But when it comes to a serious fight with an Admiral, It seems like he always gets overpowered by them, though.
Like, yeah, he can't beat Whitebeard. I mean, Whitebeard is a being that actually can beat admirals, so even burned Whitebeard, which is impressive.
This may not look like much, but this might be one of his greatest feats of all time when it comes to trying to determine how strong he is with hockey, blast power, everything put together. Him fighting Yamato is kind of a big deal. Makes you wonder, if he can clash with beings like this, it makes you wonder why he didn't just one-shot Smoker back 2 years ago in the earlier arcs of One Piece. Because this is the same Yamato that can clash her own dad, who's an emperor of the sea, and Ace can clash with such beings with amazing hockey. I'm just saying. Like, Ace really lacks screen time, but what if he could do that sky-splitting crap that other Yonkos do? What if Ace could do Conqueror's Hockey, Coding, and Fusion? And split the sky? I mean, we haven't seen him do this, but he's hanging with a top tier like Yamato, who is implied to have Conqueror's Hockey and Fusion. It's just a lot of questions and uncertainty about Ace's limits. Not me, guys, but there's people online that have calculated be able to split the sky in One Piece based on past feats of splitting the sky would take multi-continental levels of destruction when it comes to the raw energy needed to be produced to do such a feat. Like, you got cases like this where Ace uses Conqueror's Hockey at will, but can he do that Conqueror's Hockey and Fusion stuff around his arms like the top tier Yonkos do? Could he do that, which would make him be able to do that sky-splitting stuff? Do you think he can do that? That's the big question. That would just change everything we thought we knew about Ace's limits, wouldn't it? But I don't want to speculate too much.
But at the end of the day, everybody, you got to respect Ace. But what do you guys think? Before I get going, I got to say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect Ace.
I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.